The fracturing of the Republican Party is ratcheting up to the next level as prominent neoconservatives and NeverTrumpers seek to join forces with hard leftists in order to turn America into a socialist democracy. Well, we'll look at the latest developments and discuss the media's latest smears of those intent on exposing the truth in this episode of Analysis Behind the News, where we provide the perspective that you can use to restore American liberty and independence. According to the New American, the Neocons at National Review, The Bulwark, and The Dispatch have been nurturing a giant-sized hysterical hatred for Trump since he triumphed in 2016, defying their expectations and prophecies. Ditto for the Lincoln Project, the coterie of former Republicans and their Democrat pals that blew tens of millions of dollars over the past year to smear President Trump and Republican incumbents and challengers in House and Senate races. As we've presented over the years, the Republican Party has been changed from the inside out by Democrats who defected from the Democratic Party and joined the Republicans. These defecting Democrats did not change their views, but they did manage to deliberately change the views of the Republican Party. We label these Democrats in poor disguise as neoconservatives. As we pointed out in our Altering the Republican Party Neoconservatives video, neocon rhetoric sounds conservative on the campaign trail, but when in office, their voting record does not support the Constitution. Now, generally speaking, neoconservatives usually support international organizations and treaties. They favor preemptive war, support big government, and have connections with the Council on Foreign Relations organization. Neocon examples include Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, the late John McCain, and both Bush presidents. When candidate Trump joined the race for the presidency, no one was sure if he would continue to follow the neocon Republican leadership of preemptive wars, big government, and entangling alliances, or if he would seek a more conservative path. Even now, one can argue both sides, yet we would not classify him as a neocon, given his track record of generally wanting to get out of entangling alliances and to avoid preemptive war. And it is exactly his forging such a path that attracted attacks from neocons and liberals. Some neocons have now reached out to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Joe Biden in an attempt to create some sort of alliance or coalition. Steve Schmidt, co-founder of the anti-Trump Lincoln Project, tweeted out a series of tweets a couple of weeks ago. Here are some highlights. He wrote, "I would like to officially reach out to AOC on behalf of the Project Lincoln in defense of democracy," he wrote. Now, any so-called conservative trying to convince you we are a democracy or that something they are proposing is good for democracy, now they're either ignorant of the self-destructive history of true democracies or they're virtue signaling and have basically given up any principled stance in favor of preserving this country as a constitutional republic and therefore are willing to compromise. He demonstrates this with the next couple of tweets. "We will not yield and we will never break," yields another tweet in part. But then the following tweet suggests they have no principled foundation to stand on. He writes, "We pledge to be open to your ideas and we pledge to compromise," it in part reads. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the left continues to dominate the political narrative. They expect their opposition to compromise, and many so-called conservatives do so without recognizing this tactic. Once Republicans compromise, the left advances its agenda while the right continues to lose ground. To ensure these faux conservatives are crystal clear as to who is the real enemy, the final tweet in part reads, "We have no open hand for nationalists, white nationalists, fascist Proud Boys, militia groups, conspiracy theorists, etc. But yet, they are okay with working with democratic socialists, communists, and Marxists while ignoring that governments of their ilk have killed nearly 200 million in the 20th century alone." As we also pointed out in our video, Altering the Republican Party Neoconservatives, the mainstream media carries most of the water of the neoconservative movement. And picking up the smear of some conservatives as conspiracy theorists, over the last few days, big media has labeled Sidney Powell one of President's legal supporters, a far-right conspiracy theorist. CNBC, CBS MarketWatch, NBC News, the New York Times, New York Daily News, Politico, and AP ran articles smearing Ms. Powell as such. To go back to the question posed by the New American regarding the depths of neoconservatives' hate for Trump, we can safely suggest it isn't Trump they hate, it's the damage their agenda has incurred over the last 4 years that they do hate. By going after Trumpism, or more specifically Americanism, they are ensuring a huge leap forward in their big government globalist takeover of this country during a Biden administration. Now, if this sounds rather confusing, perhaps because this is the first time you've heard it explained this way, then let's clear up that the political battle of Republicans versus Democrats is really nothing more than political theater contrived by elite globalists conspiring against your liberties, your country's sovereignty, and, of course, your way of life. Now, you saw what their allies in the deep state did against President Trump over the last 4 years. And you're now seeing which conservatives are standing up for election integrity at this critical time. The real battle is not Republican versus Democrat. Rather, it is liberty versus tyranny. Neither party holds a monopoly on tyranny. And now that these neocons are showing who they really are, the fracturing of the Republican Party isn't so much a fracturing as it is a reset. Those who fight against Americanism should be thoroughly opposed, regardless of party. And those interested in seeing big government hammered back into its constitutional limitations should rise up and be activated. If you thought the onslaught against Trump was bad over the last 4 years, then you know what awaits patriots who support Americanism in the next 4 years, no matter who occupies the Oval Office. So at this point, we have to ask, if you're not yet a member of the John Birch Society, apply for membership today and learn how you can contribute in the fight for freedom in your local community. And please be sure to sign up for our legislative action alerts to keep you on top of legislative battles happening throughout the country. Links are in the video description. Who do you know that cares about freedom and independence? Because it's time to act. The survival of our republic depends on what you do or don't do. I'm Bill Hahn for the John Birch Society. Until next time, stay informed, stay active, and stay safe, patriots.